Hey guys, I got a whole lot of projects going on. I've been working a lot on the van and I got the fuel tank out of here. I just did a coating and I'm cleaning it out, putting a new pump in, new filter, all that good stuff. I got some tank straps over here I'm painting, but anyways, I got something I need to fix on the TW200. The last time I went riding, I noticed one of my indicator bulbs is out. The neutral one works, the turn signal works, but the high beam does not work. So it's probably just the bulb that's burned out, and I'm gonna replace all of them with LEDs, so let's go ahead and get started. Also, I need to remove my Christmas lights. Guys, I finally got some Japanese industrial standard bits. It kind of looks like a Phillips, but these work so much better. And you can see it's made in Japan. I'll go ahead and remove this bottom screw. And then you just pop it downwards and it'll come right off. I got this USB charger / voltage display, and it's just on here with this I can't remember what it's called. It's that super fancy, way better than Velcro stuff. I'll just move that over to the side. There are 2 screws that we gotta remove. I should probably get some actual dedicated JIS screwdrivers, or at least a 1/4" version of the adapter. It's crazy how much better JIS screws work, so you don't round them out. I feel like all screws and drivers should be Japanese industrial standard. Life would be so much better. To remove these bulbs, you might want to support it on the bottom, and you kind of push down and turn counterclockwise, and it should just lift right up. I did get some LED replacements, and I'll leave a link down below to where you can find these. I would go with the cool white ones because they're probably the brightest, and the indicators are already colored, so we're good to go. Here's what it looks like. It's just got a bunch of little LED drivers on the top, and that's where we need it. I wouldn't go with the ones that have them on the side also, because there's really no point. And you just line these little nubs up with those slots and push down and then turn clockwise until it stops and it comes up, but it won't come out. Let's go ahead and test it out. It looks like it works. It's kind of hard to tell on camera, but it is pretty bright. And let's go ahead and replace the other 2. Let's go ahead and test it out. And you can see neutral works. The high beam still does not work. The actual high beams work, but the indicator does not. And the blinkers are working, but the indicator does not work. I'll just test the resistance on these bulbs with my multimeter, and it should be fairly low. Like, there it is, 5.3 ohms. You just don't want it to say OL, because that means it's an open circuit and the filament is blown. But it's a good way to check if you can't tell by just looking at it. Most times you can tell if it's blown. You just look at the filament. There we go, around 5 ohms. So that one, and the last one is close to the same. So all these bulbs are good. Guys, I absolutely love wiring problems, so let's go ahead and pull this headlight off. From the headlight connector, we can follow the yellow high beam wire to this 3-port junction that has a rubber cover over it. From here, one of the wires goes to this harness that goes all the way up to the high beam, low beam switch. And I assume one of these wires supplies power on the other side of the high beam switch. But if we go back to this junction, the other wire goes to this harness right here, all the way up to the indicator light cluster. And you can actually see that yellow wire right there. Here's the underside of the bulb holder, and it's a little dirty, but I don't see any corrosion or anything like that that could be causing this issue. As you can see, the yellow wire goes into the center of the bulb holder, and the ground goes to the casing around the bulb. Let's go ahead and insert one of the test leads between the rubber and the outside of the bulb casing. And then we'll put the meter on resistance. And then I'll take the other test lead and hold it tightly against a good clean metal part on the bike, and I'll just use this bolt for the handlebars And this is because the ground is attached to the chassis on the bike. And it's fairly low, about 1 ohm, kind of fluctuates around, but that's perfect, exactly what you would expect to see. So obviously this isn't a ground issue, and if we had a ground problem going back to the battery, the headlight also wouldn't be working. So at this point, it's pretty safe to say there's a corrosion problem underneath this little rubber cover with this connection, because it plugs in there. Or potentially we could have a problem with the wire from here all the way up to the top. But I kind of doubt it based off how dirty it looks in there. So let's go ahead and take a look. Well, let's see if there's a way to pull this rubber cover back. Oh, there we go. And take a look at this. This one looks halfway decent, but this one looks kind of dirty and gray. So let's go ahead and see if we can pull this out of there. We'll probably use some pliers to kind of bend this back. There we go. And yep, that looks pretty dirty. Also, just a side note, make sure the bike is off when you're doing this, because this thing isn't getting power now, but if I were to touch it to ground, it would definitely pop the fuse. I'm willing to bet we had high resistance at this connection point, and that was causing an excessive voltage drop. I just got a little battery operated Dremel tool with an abrasive bit. And I'll kind of just go in there, clean it all up. It's definitely pretty dirty. You know what, guys? While we're here, let's go ahead and clean up both sides. Next, I got some electronic cleaner. I'll use a paper towel so it doesn't just fall on my plastics. And I'll spray all the contacts down. And then I have a little wire wheel on my Dremel. And I'll just clean up the contacts there until they're nice and shiny. A bit more cleaner just to get any of that dust off of there. And those look nice and good. Next, I'll go ahead and kind of bend these back down, because a loose connection will really cause problems too. Before I put it back together, I got a little bit of heat shrink, and I'll just stick these wires through, and then I'll just plug these back in. It doesn't exactly matter which one goes where, but the black one was on top, and as you can see, it's a little loose in there. That could really cause some issues. So once they're in place, I'll go ahead and like crimp them down with some pliers. That's still loose. I guess I'll just use some channel locks to really make sure those are crimped down. And that's not really working like I thought. Look at that, just comes right out. I'm gonna try to crimp them with my actual crimpers. I don't think this is gonna work, but let's try it. And it's still freaking loose. This one is not tight either. Well, since they are making contact right now, let's go ahead and just test to make sure. And look at that, it works. All right, screw it. We're just gonna make this a lot better. Just gonna cut them off as closely as I can. We won't need this anymore. And I'll just pull these guys off. I'm just gonna strip the ends with my automatic wire strippers there. Next, I'll twist all the strands. I'll just be using these spade connector crimps with built-in heat shrink, and that'll make it nice and waterproof. And I like these spade connectors a lot better than whatever that was on there, because they're a lot easier to bend back down and have a tight connection. On all three of these wires, I'm gonna use the female connector with the covering over it. The wires just slide into that little hole and make sure no strands are sticking out. And I absolutely love these thick ratcheting wire crimpers. Let's crimp that down. Give it a nice tug, make sure it's not gonna come off of there. And we'll do the same with the other two. you get that crimp all the way across there. Really quick, these ones, it's kind of hard to see exactly where the actual crimping part is, so I did mess up a couple times. Are you kidding me? But I did finally get it. It's a little closer to the plug than I thought. All right, so I got some hookup wire, and it seems like it's the same gauge of what's already on there. But I'm just gonna cut about 4 lengths of wire. They don't need to be that long. I'll just make them all the same. And then I'll go ahead and strip all 8 ends. I'm just gonna twist the wires together, at least just on one end for now. And then I'm gonna crimp one of the male spade connectors on each end of a wire. See, like right there, I didn't quite get it far enough this way and just pulled out. I've never had problems with these crimpers before until I've used these for some reason. Could try it a few times in different directions, but check that out. That's a nice, good, solid crimp. Ain't coming out of there. There you go. You can really feel it when it clamps down on there properly. Let me know if you guys want me to make a wire connection video on all the different ways to connect wires and how to crimp and solder and all that stuff. I'll probably put it on my other channel where I do a lot of car stuff. But let me know if that's something you guys would be interested in. See, like that one, I didn't really quite feel it. There we go. It's weird, you have to get it like right in the right position. But next, we're gonna take 2 of the ends and twist them together. Hold on, I'm gonna go ahead and strip a little extra off of these ends, just so we have a little bit more to twist together. All right, now they should twist together pretty well. And then we'll use a blue butt connector crimp. This one's a little bit bigger, so it can house 2 of them. We'll use the blue dot on the crimper and only crimp one side, so we gotta leave the other side open. Oh yeah, you can really feel it when you're getting a good crimp. Always give it that tug test. We'll twist the other 2 together and insert those. Give them some nice little tugs, tug-a-lugs. Next, I got my low temp heat gun, and we're just gonna shrink all of the built-in shrink wrap. This one is low temp, so it does take a little bit longer to shrink stuff, but you also don't have to worry about melting the wire shielding at all. And you guys may be wondering why I'm using 4 of these instead of just 3, and that's so we can add an auxiliary light, because I'm gonna make a new video on that, and might as well go ahead and add it since we're doing the upgrade here. And these particular spade connectors have built-in shrink wrap as well. And we'll go ahead and shrink the male connectors down. I got all the crimps shrunken down. You can see a little bit of glue is seeping out, and that's exactly what you want. So it's nice and waterproof. Just for one of the wires, I'm gonna go ahead and put the other spade connector that's not attached to anything on the other end, just to protect it so it doesn't ground out on anything. And then I'm just gonna wrap it in electrical tape until I can get around to installing the new auxiliary light bar that I have. All right, now we can go ahead and plug everything in. Should be a nice tight connection. It's exactly what you want. And I just got those ends going to the bike, and then this one will go towards the headlight. All right, now we can shrink these connections down. All All right, guys, those all look pretty good. And the reason you want to be able to disconnect these in case you have to remove certain components or take the bike apart, it's a lot easier and you can just remove them. And if you need to, you can always cut the heat shrink off and apply some new stuff if you need to. But anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and just stuff this on back behind here. And as you can see, it's fully operational. And we'll go ahead and throw one of those LEDs in. And it works. However, the turn signal indicator LED is not working, but the turn signals do work. So I'm gonna figure that out. I do have an LED flasher module that I need to try, but I'm gonna make a whole different video about that. And for now, I'll just leave the stock halogen bulb in the turn signal. And let's go ahead and put everything back together. Just position the rubber bulb socket holder, and this should just kind of slide on there. There we go. Install the screws. Also, Richard Arnold sent me a custom switch panel that will go around here, and it also has a spot for one of those round USB chargers slash voltage displays, so that will be pretty fun to install. We'll just plug the headlight in and reinstall the headlight. If you have one of these LED headlights, you may need to readjust it to make sure it's not too low and not too high. And of course, I have another video all about the LED headlights you can check out if you want to. But I'm gonna adjust mine a little bit later because it's past my bedtime. Clip the USB charger back into place, throw the front fairing on, and it just clips onto those little rubber grommets, and then install the screw. And we are pretty much done for now. We'll just do a quick little function check. Low beam and high beams work. I would not be surprised if the light is a little bit brighter now. Guys, check out the difference of these indicator lights before and after. And my camera is in manual settings for both times. And look how much brighter the LEDs are. That is pretty cool. Like with all my LED videos, I like to do a quick wattage test, and we'll start with the OEM halogen bulb, and we're just going to keep a consistent 14.2 volts for this test, and looks like we're pulling 0.24 amps, and when you multiply the voltage times the amps, you'll get the wattage. And when we round it out, it's using 3.4 watts. And we'll test out one of the LED bulbs. That gives us a lot lower, 0.04 amps. And that gives us about 0.6 watts, which is almost 3 watts lower than the stock halogen bulb. So that is quite a wattage savings, especially since there are 3 of these bulbs. However, all 3 indicators are not going to be used at the same time. The turn signal is just intermittent, so that's not as big of a deal. But the high beam one will definitely help us free up a bit of wattage, especially if you want to run extra LEDs or heated grips on the bike. I will definitely have to figure out the turn signal situation, but it'll probably be a lot better to do it when I'm actually replacing the turn signals with LEDs, because it's gonna probably take a lot of trial and error. So that was a lot more difficult than I thought it would be, because I thought it would just be a bulb, because those are the original bulbs, and I have like 17,000 miles on this, and I'd ride it pretty hard off-road, and there's a lot of vibration. They probably put that little rubber part in there to kind of keep the vibration down on those filaments so they don't burn out as easy. Anyways, guys, I hope you found this video useful, and I hope you learned some good diagnostic skills. And I personally love electrical stuff. I could do this kind of stuff all day long, especially the diagnostic part. But anyways, guys, let me know if you have any questions, and I will see you in the next video. Peace out.